Is Maria Cruz Melendez, a former federal prosecutor, helped put R. Kelly away. It's really good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to start with the basic question. What does it mean to be a subject of an investigation?
Yeah, so when you're a subject of an investigation, you are being reviewed to see whether or not you're possibly committed some crimes. You may not be the target in that you could ultimately be found to be just a witness at the end of the day, or the government could find that you have, in fact, committed alleged crimes and that they're looking to put your name at the top of an indictment.
And that can shift, right? You could be a subject and then be a target.
Absolutely. You can be a subject. You can be upgraded to a target if the evidence is there to move you up there. You could also be downgraded.
Why send him a letter, right? Because they don't have to send him a letter saying that he's a subject.
That's correct. They don't have to send him a letter. Sometimes defense counsel may ask specifically for a letter. Prosecutor can make that decision as to whether or not they're going to do that. Sometimes if they're looking to put the particular target into the grand jury, they'd like to make it very clear to the individual that they're going to be questioned as a target of an investigation, and so they'll send you a formal letter.
What information are they trying to get from him? They care. Sean Combs, come on in. Do they reveal the whole case to him about everything that they have? They trying to fill in pieces? Do they say, hey, listen, we got a case against you. We're giving you an opportunity to tell your side of the story. What do you think? What kind of information do they want from him?
Well, they're going to be looking for admissions at the end of the day, admissions that they could use against him if they're able to get an indictment and then take him to trial. What's likely to happen, though, is that his defense counsel is going to tell him to plead the fifth, and he'll invoke his right to remain silent, and then ultimately they're not going to get anything from him, from the grand jury.
Let's talk about the timing of this. I find it very interesting that this lawsuit has come out right on the heels of knowing that he's the subject, reportedly that he's the subject of the investigation. Do you think that Miss English, and maybe I'll couple that, any of the other people who filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs, they are witnesses that are speaking before this grand jury?
I think it's very possible. I think given the fact that there have been searches of his home already, the government had probable cause, at least in the eyes of a judge, in order to get those search warrants. That's what they need, probable cause. And so they've gotten facts from somewhere. They've gotten facts likely from documents, from witnesses, and those witnesses could include people from Combs's inner circle, as well as potential victims.
That lawsuit today echoed what was said in other lawsuits, this idea of a racketeering enterprise, a sex trafficking enterprise. There was an allegation, a comparison to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. When you read allegations like that in a lawsuit, do you think that is potentially the case that's being built against Combs? And by the way, I said against Combs, we don't know, presuming it's a case against Combs.
That's correct, because there are other individuals who were listed in a lot of those civil lawsuits, and so the government is likely investigating multiple people. Multiple people might be subjects and ultimately targets. But at the end of the day, I think given the nature of the information that's out there in civil lawsuits and perhaps what they've turned up in their search warrants, it's very likely that they're looking at a complex, possibly racketeering investigation.
And that takes time. The reason I say that is because homes were raided in March, right? We don't know exactly. We can't even confirm 100% whether a grand jury has been impaneled. And by the way, just talking about a grand jury for a second, is this a grand jury whose sole task is to issue an indictment, whether it's against Combs or anybody else, or is it more of a fact-finding mission?
I think it's both. Ultimately, federal prosecutors can use a grand jury as a fact-finding tool. They can bring witnesses in, get a sense of what they have to say. They can have the grand jury issue subpoenas. And so that really is fact-finding. But the goal, ultimately, if the evidence is there, if they find that there's enough evidence to issue an indictment, they're going to ask the grand jury to vote yes on an indictment.
And the fact that they've, again, if the reporting is true, that he is the subject of the investigation, they want him to come in or speak, does that give you a timing of where they are in the grand jury process? Like charges could be imminent or not, assuming it's a grand jury that would issue an indictment? It's
really difficult to tell with federal prosecutions how long the investigation is going to take. But given that they've had these search warrants, the investigation has proceeded at least since before March when they obtained the search warrants. And so it's very possible that one step that they could do is look at what's sort of the low-hanging fruit, what they could charge him with now, and that they think that they could bring that to trial. And then ultimately, they'd seek an indictment, and then they may have time to continue to investigate and add additional charges.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven unbiased coverage.